Hello, friends. Back again. Beautiful Sunday to give you these UFC recaps and a little bit of smoky hours, as you know. Unfortunately, some of my picks got put in a pack. Actually, really did not do too well with the picks, but got above 50%, got an underdog or two in there. There were some upsets, even though one of these upsets actually was kind of a not expected upset, but a very potential upset. There is a high potential for an upset, specifically between Jake Sergi and Weston Wilson, as you may know by now. I'm about to just jump straight into it, starting off with the early prelim. Actually, one thing I do want to say first. Shailin Nerdebeki versus Melquizel Costa, Milk Coffee. Man, this is actually a really good early prelim opener. Very high-level grappling match. Some people said a bit of a mids fight. I disagree completely. I thought it was a hype fight, actually. I was on the edge of my seat the entire time, for real. Very painful ending. Most of this fight was dictated by Shailin Nerdebeki just out-grappling and also just out-muscling. A combination of those two. Out-grappling and out-muscling Melquizel. However, Shailin really didn't take full advantage with his positioning, with the takedowns, because he wasn't doing any damage. Wasn't throwing a lot of strikes. The first round, I think, went to Shailin Nerdebeki. The second round, even though Shailin pretty much controlled the entire round, towards the end of it, I think that thought started to seep into Melquizel Costa's head, because he started throwing a little bit of strikes in the clinch and even from bottom, and I thought, even in my live reaction, I think you have to give that round to Melquizel Costa. Now, round 3. Again, straight back into grappling exchanges, not as much striking. And it was really evident in round 3 that Shailin Nerdebeki, whenever he was getting to the position that he wanted to get in terms of grappling, he really wasn't doing anything with it. He was just holding Melquizel, and there was one kind of scramble, chaotic sequence in the third round. I don't remember if it was a takedown or it was already a scramble on the ground, where I think Melquizel Costa was able to slip out the back and take the back of Shailin Nerdebeki, and was... I don't like saying this, but I really do think Shailin kind of quit. That really broke Shailin, because once the choke got in, he didn't fight the choke. Shailin really did not fight that choke. And you can see his face change, specifically with the eyes. He's kind of like he has like the moment of both resignation and surprise, but it's kind of just like, oh, I'm caught. Like, okay. Like, oh, he caught me. He was like, watch that back, and you'll see Shailin's face do that. Yeah, I swear, he basically quit, just taps out. Very calm. You have to tap if you're not going to fight. The choke, obviously. I called Shailin Nerdebeki getting that one done by KO TKO in round 3. It was not. Instead, it was a submission for Melquizel Costa. And that's a good win for Melquizel Costa, because I think if he lost this one, loses most of the stock that he had left. He already lost a lot of stock, but that puts him back. Very interesting to see his next bout, actually. Moving on to a fight that was okay. It was decent enough. Josephine Knudsen versus Julia Palastri. I had Josephine Knudsen winning this fight by decision. She did win this fight by decision. She was just the much better striker, although I don't know if it was a combination of both, like, frustration and confidence, but Julia Palastri was laughing off and shrugging off a lot of the shots, and then later at the end, when she actually decided to plant her feet and strike back, she had some success. Josephine Knudsen was delivering strikes, but when she was taking them, she was reacting. She was moving, she was getting moved by the strikes. Josephine Knudsen also has been skipping jiu-jitsu practice crazy. She's been skipping jiu-jitsu class. We can tell. We can just fucking tell. Stop skipping jiu-jitsu class. That's all I'm going to say about that one, really. Very calm. That should have been the early prelim opener, in my opinion. Moving on to the first upset, really. Were there any other upsets later? Yeah, there were, actually. There were. Yes, moving on to the next upset, or the first upset, I mean. Jacob Sergey versus Weston Wilson. I had Jacob Sergey winning by KO TKO in round 1. He tried his hardest to get it, but like I also said, Jeka is like weird. Like he has submissions and stuff, but he's like around like a blue belt level maybe. Like type shit. Like I don't know, man. It's spooky. I was saying if the fight goes to the ground, Weston Wilson has to be respected on the ground, and it becomes Weston Wilson's fight. It really did. Jeka was able to kind of move out of some submissions and stay alive for a little bit. But he was just in the danger zone too long, couldn't get out of the guard eventually, got caught with a triangle armbar, nasty triangle armbar. And I said this in my live reaction. I was actually as glad as I could be for Weston Wilson. Weston Wilson has had a very tough UFC career, including the Jacob Sergey fight. That was not like an easy matchup. That was just, I guess, a more favorable matchup for him. Fought Joe Anderson Brito on his debut, I think, or maybe he fought someone else. But basically, first 2 fights got KO'd. Oh, I think he fought the Brazilian dude who came out with like the glasses who was like tweaking or something. Maybe I'm confusing it with something else. I forget that dude's name. Someone that made their debut not too long ago. But now he finds himself in the UFC win column. Very nice. Great performance for Weston Wilson. That was a first-round submission. There's not much to talk about with that one. Did get pressured early and got touched by Jeka, but survived. There is something to note with Weston Wilson, though. He kind of has, but I don't want to say deer in headlights, but he does get caught watching strikes that are going to come in and do damage to him. I was thinking of, there's a couple times, but most notably, the most specific time was before the takedown sequences. Weston Wilson had his back to the cage. Jacob Sergey loads up it like an overhand or like a super sloppy hook. Weston kind of sees it coming and he like starts to dip off, but he just watches it come all the way and hit him, and he took that one flush. Survived it, but took that one, and I think that's a problem. But it's just something I noticed that I thought was interesting. Moving on to actually a very, very good fight. I thought this fight was either going to be fire or complete dog shit. That was Gabriela Fernandes versus Carly Judice. I had Gabriela Fernandes winning that fight by decision. She did win by decision, but it was a very close fight and close to a war. Like, it was a real battle, a real battle. Carly Judice made me eat all my words. She looked actually fantastic, I'm not going to lie. Her opening was her weakest part, her striking defense. She does get cracked, and she takes the shots kind of, not the best, but not the worst. Far from the worst, actually. She didn't get knocked out. She did get wobbled a couple of times. The most notable time, maybe in round 2 or something like that. There was one sequence where she got wobbled and she almost rolled her ankle. Like, she was trying to step back into the cage. And it wasn't one of those times where you'll occasionally see a fighter get pushed back into the cage. They don't realize the cage is there and they kind of buckle their ankle. They roll their foot the wrong way because they've backed up into the cage. No, Carly was like a couple steps away from the cage and she just buckled backing up. But she was able to recover. Looked extremely crisp. Cardio was there. She stayed in there the entire fight. I was very spooked. Honestly. The first round, in my live reaction, I was saying maybe Carly wins that one. I really didn't know. Honestly, thinking back on it, I do think that Gabriela Fernandes wins that round and round 2. Just because I think also Carly Judice outlanded her in those first 2 rounds. I think maybe every round. But there was visible reactions and actual wobbling, actual damage coming from Gabriela Fernandes in both the first and second round. Not to say that Carly Judice wasn't doing anything. She was landing very cleanly, very technical striking, boxing specifically. Fast hands, not the most power, but that's kind of good. It works, I think, in her style, building it up over time. Very nice, very nice. I'm actually very interested to see how Carly Judice develops. 4 professional fights. I was shitting on her for that. 8 fights total, professional and amateur. But she actually looked fantastic against the former LFA champion, former LFA women's champion in Gabriela Fernandes. Moving on to spooky hours. Some people were saying that the Gabriella fight was the best fight. The Gabriella and Carly Judice fight was the best fight of the card. I think it was the Garrett Armfield fight, personally. But I also thought this was a decent... I didn't think this was the worst card. It was like a mediocre card, sure. But not even the most mediocre. And when I say mediocre, I think a lot of people in the modern day think of dog shit. I mean it in its original sense. Like, it's just straight up run-of-the-mill, like, ordinary. There's nothing special about it in particular. But even then, I feel like that's a little inaccurate to say. It was decent. It was a decent card. A decent enough card. I was saying it might be filler. It might be good. We got some finishes, you know. What can you say? Moving on. Garrett Armfield versus Brady Hiestand. I picked Garrett Armfield to win this one by decision. He almost got it done by KO TKO. A couple times, you could say. But, man, it was ultimately the right decision of the ref to let the fight go. That was never like a point of controversy for me. You know, Brady Hiestand survived. And was able to find that rear naked choke. I forget at what point in the fight it was, but Brady Hiestand was hunting for that. It might have been the round right before, even. Did that fight end in round 2 or round 3? Am I tweaking? No, it ended in round 2. It ended in round 2, correct? Or was it 3? Damn, I don't know why I'm not remembering that, but either way, there was a point in the fight where Brady Hiestand did end up taking the back of Garrett Armfield and threatened the choke. And they got in deep sometimes, but Garrett Armfield fought the hands, and he tried to, and he got out successfully. He fought the hands very technically as well. You know, Garrett Armfield put up a great fight in this one. He just got caught. He got caught crazily. That rear naked choke came back. You know, and you heard his coaches, I'll say this, to be a little bit more precise about the initial rear naked choke attempt. At the end of that round, Brady Hiestand's coaches, one of the first things they said to him was, "Oh, that choke is coming. Like, that choke's there. You'll get that choke." They said something to that effect in between the rounds. And that choke did come. It did come. He was able to survive, man. Garrett Armfield, the jab was brutal, and he was able to land like a monstrous little kind of like double sequence. He hurt Brady Hiestand, but Brady was still on his feet. And then he wobbled the fuck out of him and sent him kind of running off, followed him, and then sat him down. And almost finished the fight there, but Brady Hiestand survived, man. Respect to him. Respect to him. Was able to get that one done by submission. Congratulations to Brady Hiestand. Very interested in seeing Garrett Armfield, though. I actually do want to see more of Garrett Armfield. That's a tough loss for Garrett Armfield, you know, because he had to tap. He was fighting it. Although I was kind of tweaking, I think, if I remember correctly, he maybe had too much faith. I think maybe he attacked the feet. He attacked, like, the body lock or some shit that wasn't even fully in yet, and the choke just got cinched up even more. I think that's actually what happened or something like that. But either way, congratulations to Brady Hiestand for a great finish. Phenomenal finish. Moving on to Nate Maness versus Jimmy the Brick Flick. Now, Jimmy Flick, I got to spark this up for Jimmy Flick. Nate Maness was supposed to, I don't know about supposed to, but everyone thought, including me, I had him winning this fight by round 1 KO TKO. Minty Bets actually didn't have it that way, but Jesus. Excuse me. Jimmy Flick was able to survive on the feet, man, and take the power, take the damage coming from Nate Maness. Nate Maness looked good, but he just looked like he was too relaxed almost, you know. He was sniping Jimmy Flick on occasion, but he was just too relaxed. He was like, okay, the finish will come, you know, I'll land on this guy clean with power, and he'll be done. And then when it didn't happen, he was just like, all right, you know, next time. And what started happening was Jimmy Flick got more and more aggressive. It's just his striking defense is almost non-existent. Like, he doesn't move his head. He's too inefficient at block. His high guard is too inefficient. You know, it works sometimes, but it's really just too inefficient. Shots break his guard easily. They just slip through too. Like, He does have a hell of a chin, and he fucking has insane heart, though. He's a dog, man. That's what I was saying in my live reaction. Shout out to Jimmy Flick, man. Man is a fucking dog. And I feel like I'm downplaying or kind of sidelining Nate Maness here. Fantastic win for Nate Maness, man. You get it how you can. You know you're fighting. You're not like, it's not like, oh shit. Like, no, going for style points all the time, you know. Finishes are nice if you can get them. Hey, Jimmy Flick is a dangerous dude. I had said in my Malcolm Gordon prediction, where I picked Malcolm Gordon to KO him, and it almost happened. Jimmy Flick has to be respected on the ground. He has to be. Now, Nate Maness actually handled him on the ground. Funnily enough, I think the surprising adversity for Nate Maness came from Jimmy Flick on the feet. He really barely won engagements at all on the feet. That is Jimmy Flick. But he did win a few. And there were, I want to say, at least 3 definite like hooks, overhand punches from Jimmy Flick that landed flush on Nate Maness. He took them, but they landed, and you could tell. You're like, oh, shit. And Jimmy Flick, he was throwing actually some heavy body kicks. He was throwing out some heavy body kicks. You could hear him all the time. They were nice to see. Tried to go for a head kick. You know, tried to go for some head kicks, too. He tried, man. Jimmy Flick really tried. He never gave up. He never ever gave up. I respect Jimmy Flick a lot. I'd like to see him fight someone maybe a little bit closer to his style, actually. I really would like that, although who knows if we'll see him again. I hope to. I hope to, actually. I really... And I say that unironically. I legitimately fuck with him. I fuck with Jimmy Flick, man. Nate Maness, I'm also... I want to see Nate Maness versus actually another spooky striker. I want to see that happen now. Not sure who, but... Hey, fuck it. They're not flyweights, were they? Is Jimmy a flyweight? They are flyweights, right? They are flyweights. Okay. How do people feel about Joshua Van versus Nate Maness? What's the vibe with that? Am I tweaking? Let me know. I say that because the next fight would have been Joshua Van versus Tagir Lundbekov. Hashtag fuck Tagir Lundbekov. But that fight got canceled. I actually don't even know why it got canceled, but... Hey, I would like to see Nate Maness versus Joshua Van, but I do want to see Joshua Van fight soon. I had Joshua Van winning that one by round 2 KO TKO. Calmly. But since that did not happen, we move on to someone who I'm glad got put in a pack, this man Josh Quinlan. Adam Fugit versus Josh Quinlan. I had Adam Fugit winning this fight by decision. He won by decision. Now, the foundation of this pick was Josh Quinlan was once on the roids. I have something to say about that as well. And all he had while he was even on the roids is just like knockout power and a chin. He still has the knockout power and the chin, but at the time I was saying, we don't know about the Danny Barlow knockout. That shit might have been cracked it. Who knows? Like, we got to see. His chin is still there. The only thing is that he came out looking like he was on the fucking roids and swinging like he was on the roids. Josh Quinlan. It was spooky hours. Adam Fugit was able to chill and get it done. I will say Adam Fugit at moments looked slow, but I realized I think it was maybe more of a timing thing because he actually did catch Josh Quinlan with a couple head kicks and a couple big body kicks. Even though they seemed like they were coming in slow, he would legitimately catch him. I remember there was one time he sniped Josh Quinlan as Josh Quinlan was trying to pull out with a head kick. You know, landed straight on the chin, slapped him up a little bit. Very nice to see. Adam Fugit did get that one done by decision. That was calm, you know. That was calm. That wasn't like the most insane fight. It did pick up as it went on. The next fight was entertaining enough for me. It was Asu Almabayev versus Jose Johnson. I had Asu Almabayev winning by submission in round 1. He won by decision. It was still very calm. There were moments or at least one moment for Jose Johnson. Couldn't capitalize on it, but just got outplayed, outskilled, like outfought legitimately. It's like massive skill difference. Fuck the size difference. There's a massive skill difference there. I will say, I was very skeptical about how he'd not be compromised and fight to the fullest of his abilities at 125 pounds. The dude looked fine. Not really. He looked skinny as a motherfucker, but he fought fine, and he didn't look like he was on death's door, for real. I would like to see that dude go back up to 135, maybe put on some muscle, put on some more mass, and then use that size. You know, that's very nice, instead of trying to go down to bully 125ers, but he got bullied himself by Asu. Asu threatened the submission so many times, man, but he just couldn't find it. Eventually, I think in round 3, maybe it was round 2, Jose Johnson threatened with a submission of his own. Did not find it. She was chatting at one point to his corner like, oh, I can submit him. I can get a submission off him. No, bro. No. Chill out, little bro. I don't know about that one, little bro. Man was getting slammed and taken down by Asu Almabayev. It was very nice. Phenomenal performance. Academic performance from Asu Almabayev. Moving on to what was, to my opinion, the most boring fight on the card, which was Douglas Silva de Andrade. Well, actually, this is out of order because they switched a lot of things around by the time I had filmed my video originally, my prediction video. What was the next fight? Ah, yes. It was Timothy Kawamba versus Lucas Almeida, man. Lucas Almeida. I had Timmy Kawamba winning this one by KO TKO in round 1, right? But then the Lucas Almeida that I thought would show up, the Lucas Almeida that in my mind that I was betting on when he was fighting Andre Fili, he decided to show up, man. And he dog-walked Timmy Kawamba. That was a shame, man. I really thought Timmy Kawamba was going to get it done and kind of easily because I thought Lucas Almeida way too sloppy. He looked extremely fucking sharp in this one. He was a literal sniper in this one. And he's super stiff. He really doesn't move his head at all. That's how he got knocked the fuck out by Andre Fili in the first round. I thought that was just going to be even worse, combined with the fact that he got knocked the fuck out, and that wasn't too long ago. Might be longer than I think, but like 2 months ago, right? Like 2-3 months ago, he got knocked the fuck out. First round. But he dog-walked Timmy Kawamba, man. Ate whatever came to him and just fucking sniped Timmy Kawamba multiple times. Sat him down on some kind of freaky shit. Like, some punches were just like literally one and done, sat him, dropped him, and it was just like, whoa. You know, Timmy Kawamba, hats off, because he showed insane heart and a chin. You know, even though he got dropped multiple times, he recovered, actually, and was taking more shots. But needs a lot of work, I think, actually. The Balagioki thing, I don't know. How good is Balagioki? We have to ask ourselves now. Moving on to... Now it was Douglas Silva de Andrade versus Miles Johns, but that would have been earlier. I had Douglas Silva de Andrade winning this one by decision. He did not. He looked washed, actually. And Miles Johns looked like Miles Johns, you know, a little bit cleaner, maybe a little bit more disciplined, but looked like Miles Johns. What more could you expect from Miles Johns? Just trading one strike, and his opponent has to I don't know why he decides to respect that, and also just only land one shot at a time, maybe throw 2 or 3, but only land one at a time, intend to land one at a time. There was multiple freaky fucking moments where, like, Douglas De Silva would, like, throw something, and then he would, like, move his head, he would move off to the side, and Miles Johns would go in for the counter. But since Douglas fucking moved his head, it would crack him in the back of the head, like, clean. And it was kind of, it's clean, that is clean. And that happened more than once, and it would, like, rattle him. And I'm just like, what the fuck am I even watching, man? Horrible fight. Not horrible. I've seen worse fights, but dog shit fight. That fight was actually dog shit. Lowest moment of the card. Shit almost put me to sleep, bro. That was a horrible... And that was the fucking co-main, man. That was the fucking co-main. You know, I was shit-talking Lucas Almeida because I was like, man made his debut. Or no, not his debut, excuse me. But got knocked the fuck out in his last fight in a step up in the early prelims on like a pay-per-view. I think it was a pay-per-view. And then gets rewarded by being the featured fight of a fight night type shit. Like, that was just a little funny to me. But he showed it why. That was a valid for a featured fight. That was valid. Completely fucking valid. Put in a phenomenal performance against Timmy Kwamba. Dismantled him. Dog walked him, like I said. Back to Douglas Silva de Andrade versus Miles Johns. Like I said, just a Miles Johns fight. If you're familiar with Miles Johns, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, man. I bet, or I shouldn't say I bet, because I actually did not bet. But I picked Douglas Silva de Andrade to get this one done by decision. I picked against Miles Johns because I thought the Cody Gibson performance is just... It's so strange, right? Dude's on a winning streak. Fucking Michael Bisping, Dominic Cruz talking good about him. And I get that, right? They got to sell it. They're company dudes. Like, meaning they're doing their job. That's what I mean by that part. They're doing their job as commentators. But no one wants to watch fucking Miles Johns fight. He somehow makes it more boring than a than a low-level wrestling match that we sometimes see in the UFC. Somehow, some way, his striking is more boring than a low-level grappling match in the UFC. I don't know how. But hey, does have a really nice highlight KO, but that's the only thing. And that was the fucking co-main, man. The co-main originally was Ikram Aliskerov versus Antonio Trocoli, but that got canceled. Ikram got rewarded with the main event now versus Robert Whittaker. I'm expecting him to, I don't know about get dog walked, but get KO'd low-key. I think that's just what the spirits are telling me. The voices in my head are telling me. Moving on to the main event, which was Tatsuro Taira versus Alex Perez in a comical, not too comical, ending because Alex Perez got hurt, actually injured. And he did look very good up until that injury, did Alex Perez. You know, he didn't just roll over and let Tatsuro Taira kind of be the unstoppable force that people are making him out to be. He fought back. He fought hard. He would clinch up. He would fight dirty and deep. He didn't let Tatsuro go first. He tried to take the action, take the initiative, and at times it was working. Tatsuro was never like too flustered, but there were moments where he was taking shots. Really, I'm just going to kind of jump now to the ending sequence, which is the thumbnail of this video, where Tatsuro Taira standing gets the back, right? Jumps the back. He moves off to a slight angle, so now he's kind of rocking on like the back hip, right? Has the body lock in, and is so tight on there, and his core just locked into that motherfucker. He's leaning back. He starts throwing himself back to try to just drop, to drag away Alex Perez. And you can see it start to work. Like, he drags him off balance at first, but Alex Perez stays on his feet. And on the second big attempt where he swings back, I guess just the pressure, the way it kind of was since he was off to the angle, he was able to get, like, I think it was his left leg or the fully extended leg that isn't the leg that's not holding in the lock, the leg that is setting up for the lock, for the figure four to be completed. That was slid under, like, the left leg of Alex Perez, I think. Or, like, entwined with it, entangled with that leg. And from the second pullback and the shift off balance, it seemed like it put all the weight on the right leg of Perez, the leg that was not entangled, and it just like blew out. It just gave out completely. Alex Perez literally starts screaming out in pain. He taps He taps as well, but they counted that one as a KO TKO. He taps, but either way, he finishes him by blowing out his fucking knee. Phenomenal performance, honestly, from Tetsudo Taira. Not his best performance, but just a very interesting finish, you know. And from now on, dudes will have to think about that. If Tetsudo Taira is on your back while you are standing, people will start thinking, oh shit, what's going to happen now? Overall, like I said, as we finish this J, it really was a decent night of fights, man. It was a decent night of fights. Like, maybe not even mediocre. It might have been decent. It wasn't like... It was filler, yeah, definitely a filler card, but not the worst filler card. If we're going to say it's a filler card, it was one of the better filler cards. How about that? You know, I'll concede that. It was definitely a filler card, but one of the better filler cards. Excuse me while I partake in Fruity Steam. Trying to quit. But ultimately, the fights were good, you know. Let's see, how many fights ended in finish? 1, 2, 3. 4. So 4 fights out of 11 fights. So not too crazy, you know. Not the worst. Not the fucking worst. More finishes than 302, I think. So what are you going to say? And there were more fights on 302. Hey. 302 was mediocre, though, except for the main event. But that's including the Kevin Holland shit. That shit was tweaky in its own right. I'm still coping about that. I think that's it. Like the video if you like it. Dislike the video if you dislike it. Subscribe if you want to see more. More stuff coming soon, definitely. Probably going to hit the run today. Might even throw out a running video. Who knows? God bless you. I hope you enjoyed the fights, honestly. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, much love. As always, much love. Big kiss.